Hi, again, this is Steve Gladys from the George Mason Enterprise Center and for Steve Gladys Leadership Partners here in Fairfax, Virginia. We've been talking about speech. We talked first of all about the nonverbals that were required for giving a good speech, eye contact, gestures, all those sorts of things. The presentation style, if you will, of public presentations. And we talked about the organization. Remember, we talked about the introduction, which was kind of the main ideas. You want to get people involved and get their attention. You want to tell them they need to know. And then frame out what the speech was going to be talking about. The body were the three pillars that were fed by either your personal appeal, the logic of your arguments, or your emotion, depending upon the kind of audience that you had. And that these three parts fed the introduction. So we were going to tell you what we said. We were going to tell people what we were going to tell them. We were going to tell them, and then the conclusion is you're going to tell them what you told them. It's the third time they hear them. They hear this information, and Aristotle said that you had to hear something 3 to 4 or 5 times before you really understood it. And this ensures that they hear it at least 3 times before you conclude. Now there are other ways to repeat yourself as you go along, which we don't have time to chat about today. But suffice it to say, this is the way you could reinforce your message. The whole idea of the conclusion, what you want to do in the conclusion is to review what you just said, kind of like what I just did, and to kind of ask people for an outcome, something to do. The conclusion, first of all, should state the central theme. So what we were talking about, George Mason being the University of the 21st century, I might repeat that here because by now the audience has had time to try to absorb this, but they've heard a lot of information. You want to bring them back to the original theme. So I might say, as I said earlier to you all, George Mason is the University for the 21st century. And then what I might do is very quickly review each of the key elements in the body of the speech. I might just quickly review the technology that's available at George Mason, the entrepreneurship opportunities, and opportunities to work with alumni and startups. That TEA, T thing, I might just review that key word again real quickly, just review this, and then I want to close with something memorable or something, or an act that we want people to take. So for example, I might say, I might quote that George Mason was just voted #1 most likely to succeed school in the nation, most up-and-coming school in the nation in U.S. News and World Report. And I might quote Angel Cabrera, the president, talking about how proud he is of George Mason based on the measurements that U.S. News and World Report and others have given to the university. And I might ask people, when it comes time for you to choose a university, which one are you going to choose? Are you going to choose a university that's in the 20th century or a university that's in the 21st century for your kids or for you as a student? We hope you choose George Mason. So I might ask them to really consider that question. Again, charging them up. It's not a persuasive speech, but information is always persuasive. And at the end of it, you want to kind of give people something to remember it by and maybe ask them to make a choice. So that's it for public presentations. This is a very brief shot at it. There's other information in the book, and there's other information out there. For example, how to use podiums, how do you handle questions at the end of a speech, I should say. How do you prepare for speech? All those sorts of things are in the book, and as I say, in other documents that you can get. But this is kind of the real basics that might help you along the way. Thanks very much. This is Steve Gladys at George Mason University's Mason Enterprise Center, and for Steve Gladys Leadership Partners. Hope you have a great day.